Welcome to Plano Police Department's True Crimes with Officer Bianes, a podcast dedicated to learning how criminals select their targets and what you can do to not be a victim. During each program, police officer, crime prevention specialist, and certified speaking professional Chris Bianes teams up with a safety expert to discover crime trends and how you can protect yourself. Because that's what this podcast is all about, increasing the safety for you, your family, identity, and property. It's Plano Police Department's True Crimes with Officer Bianes. Take it away, Chris.
Welcome to Plano Police True Crimes. I'm your host, Officer Chris Bianes. Joining me in the studio today is Detective Michael Maker. He's been a law enforcement officer for over 8 years and has been with the Plano Police Department for the past 4 years. He has recently been assigned to the Juvenile Investigative Division. Detective Maker, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm very happy to be here.
So what are we talking about this time?
So today we're talking about TikTok challenges, and these are challenges or different routines that are shown over social media, primarily TikTok, that kids then emulate and also record themselves doing. The reason that we're bringing this up is some of these have crossed over from the dance videos we see, the ones where they dance outside the car or do silly things, to potential criminal offenses and even things that are very dangerous to the youth in general.
So we've had criminal offenses from these TikTok challenges in Plano?
Yes, we have.
Can you share like a true crime example of these types you've seen?
Certainly, Chris. So the two most investigated ones that I can bring up are, one was called Devious Licks. This was around September, October of 21, and this was the destroy a bathroom, either at school or a different public bathroom challenge. So the way this started was TikTok was showing these individuals go in and film themselves ripping off soap dispensers, breaking mirrors, just generally vandalizing a bathroom. And so then people would emulate this. In most of the Plano schools, we had individuals damage things inside the bathroom. This was handled by most of our school resource officers. As far as a case I investigated, we had one that occurred at a public pool for an HOA. So students entered during business hours, but stayed till after business hours. They then went into a public bathroom, ripped all the soap dispensers off the walls, broke stalls, smashed mirrors, and filmed themselves doing this. Well, the thing that comes up for us is we have great evidence in that they filmed themselves doing these things, Chris. And a lot of these students don't realize that that could potentially be a criminal investigation with criminal penalties. So in that case, we have what's called criminal mischief or a vandalism. And so we have been filing those charges on youth that are doing this. As far as another TikTok challenge, we also have Slap a Teacher. This occurred in October, November of 21. And we didn't get as many of these cases, but we did have youth who the challenge was go up and slap a faculty member and hit them during class or between classes and film this. We did have this as well in Plano. And what students don't realize is this is not just a school issue that's going to be handled internally. This gets to where it gets reported to the police, Chris. And this is not only an assault, but it can be an assault on a public servant because teachers fall under that now in the state of Texas. So you have very real offenses between criminal mischief, vandalism, and assault that are occurring directly because of these TikTok challenges.
So criminal mischief also depends on the amount of damage, right? So there's a dollar amount tied to it. And the higher the dollar amount of damage, the higher the offense. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chris. So we have criminal penalty groups here in Texas, and we've talked about them before, but as far as a reiteration, we have C, B, and A misdemeanors, which C would be like your traffic ticket. It's a very low, usually punishable by fine-only misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. And then we have B and A with potential jail time and higher fines. After that, you get into the felonies, state jail, Class 3, 2, and 1. As far as these criminal mischiefs, what we're seeing are C through A misdemeanors in high frequency. And C can be not only a damage value, which in Texas it's under $100 is a C misdemeanor, but it can also be a substantial inconvenience. So a lot of these things where they're just emptying out the soap dispensers all over the room, or maybe not necessarily breaking something, but taking things off the walls, that can be a substantial inconvenience and still filed as a Class C misdemeanor, which is a fine up to $500, which for a student, and especially their parents, that can be a hefty fine. The other offenses that we see, so the Class B misdemeanor is $100 to less than $750, which is a pretty wide range. And the A is $750 up to $2,500. Well, I don't need to tell you that sometimes these bathroom damages can add up very quickly. So there were multiple Class A misdemeanors, which is a higher level misdemeanor than that traffic ticket, filed because of what these juveniles have been doing in the schools and public bathrooms.
I'm thinking like a parent that not only do you have the criminal offense and the fine of the criminal charge, what about the liability? Can a parent be liable for the damage their child does?
Potentially, and that's through the schools. As far as other businesses that have seen this happen, they can potentially file civil suits, which is money directly out of the parent's pocket because of these instances. And again, we have our own evidence created, which is good for the criminal investigative division, but it's unfortunate because it's the whole point of these TikTok challenges that they record themselves doing the offenses. So one thing I would caution for the parents would be that this evidence is out here, and if your child, your student does this, then there's a very high likelihood that they could have these penalties.
Well, I know that as a parent, I wouldn't want this, and I know our parents viewing or listening won't want this to happen. So what's your best advice for parents how to deal with these?
So as far as parents, Chris, I think it's very important for them to have a conversation with their child, their student, about this. And not only the trends in TikTok, but also all their social media. There's a very different world we live in right now, Chris, where our kids are seeing all these things over Pinterest, TikTok. There's so many different platforms for information. And then, of course, students are going to want to emulate some of these activities, hence the challenges. And then it becomes popularized where more and more people are going to want to do this. And people who wouldn't necessarily normally want to do some of these instances, well, now it's a TikTok challenge. They feel emboldened, or they feel like, well, if these people are doing it, maybe it can't be that bad. Well, in fact, it is a criminal offense, and they can be charged with it and have more long-reaching consequences. So it's important for the parents to talk to their kids and also to be cognizant of what their kids are viewing. I encourage them to get on their kids' accounts, get on their phones, their social media, their tablets, and see what they're doing. Some parents view this as an invasion of their students' privacy, and I understand that. But I think that it's more important to protect the children from ignorance and these challenges than it is to necessarily violate the privacy in those instances.
That makes sense. What about if you had the young people sitting in front of you, what advice would you give young people?
So as far as the young people who either may or may not be involved in these challenges and see it, I would encourage them, don't emulate it just because you've seen it. It's that age-old idiom of, if you see someone jump off a cliff, are you going to jump off the cliff too? And so we're seeing a lot of that, where someone's seen it happen to where they want to go and emulate that behavior. Don't do that. If it feels wrong to you, then there's a high likelihood it is wrong, Chris. And I think a lot of people do understand that. They just kind of get caught up in what's going on. But also be aware that this is it's a bigger deal than what they might think it is. They aren't thinking about these long-term consequences, and that can be juvenile probation, juvenile detention. As far as if they're 10 or older in the state of Texas, they can potentially be arrested and prosecuted with these offenses. So while it might seem like a funny thing at school to break the soap dispensers, break the mirror, or other challenges that are of the like, that adds up not only monetarily for them and their parents, but also in terms of punishment. So that can take away their freedoms. There can be court-ordered supervision. There can be ankle monitors. A lot of things that they aren't necessarily thinking of in the moment there. So it's important for them to take a step back and hear about this and know that it is a big deal, Chris.
I know you're not trying to stop these young people from having fun. So where would you draw the line when you're looking at, silly TikTok challenges are one thing, but where you're going to draw the line is where?
Where we're going to draw the line is when it breaks over from a silly challenge that doesn't affect anyone else besides themselves to where it either affects others in a negative way, damages property, or injures anyone else, Chris, or themselves. Some of these TikTok challenges are unfortunately very dangerous for the person performing them. And we've seen that occur too, where it's not necessarily going to be the criminal offense, but we have an injury report because a student tried something they've seen on TikTok or Snapchat and it injures them. But they need to be cognizant of, okay, is this a silly challenge, a dance video? Even the one that you might have seen it as well, where they get out their car and then they do a dance while the car is driving along beside them. Some of that was staged with other people in control of the vehicle, but there were very real instances where someone got out of their car to do a dance and their car crashed, which is damage to either their vehicle or another's vehicle. Insurance comes into play, and that can be serious. But is the TikTok challenge that you're emulating, is it hurting anyone else? Is it putting you in danger? And if any property is being destroyed other than potentially their own, I would urge them not to do that.
Any final thoughts on this topic?
Final thoughts, Chris, would just be step back and think before you do any of these challenges. Stop. Will it hurt someone else? Will it hurt you? Will it damage anything? If any of those answers are yes, please don't do this challenge. And for parents, please be cognizant of what's going on in not only your child's life, but also in the community. While your child might not have seen this yet, or might not be on that social media platform, others have been. And some of these can victimize other people. So as long as they're aware of the trends that are occurring, and we're seeing these crop up on a very regular basis, it's kind of a flavor of the month or flavor of the week with these challenges, to be aware and just try and stay up to date on what's going on so they can better protect their kids.
Well, you always bring us valuable information. We hope as things come up that you want to share, you'll come back and share those with us.
I hope it helps. Thanks for having me.